Well, greetings and salutations, everybody. Welcome to the best damn movie related show on the planet Earth, the John Campea Show, coming from right here in my little converted garage. I'm, of course, your host, John Campea, and it is an awesome honor and privilege, as it is every day, to have you, our international friends, gather around as we talk about our favorite things in the world, movies and movie news, TV and streaming, all those things that give us joy. And I'm awfully glad that you decided to make this little show part of your day. I am joined, of course, by our technical director, Mr. Jonathan Voico. How you doing, sir?
Hello. Good afternoon, everybody. How are you?
And we're really lucky today. We are joined all the way from Austin. One Mr. Sean Chandler is here. Sean, how you doing, man?
I'm good. Glad to be here and excited to talk movies way too much.
It's great to have you here.
John, you said Austin like you were from Boston.
So that's true. I did just get back from Boston. That has a heavy effect. And walking around the John F. Kennedy Center for 3 hours and hearing all of his speeches, and it's start to get a bit of that drawl. Anyway, guys, we're awfully glad that you're here, and here's how today's show is going to go. We're going to start off by talking about a few predetermined topics we got lined up for you guys. Then in the second part of the show is when I'm going to take your live comments and questions and subjects. If you guys have a live comment or question you'd like me to address, as long as I deem it appropriate to be addressed on the show, you can go ahead and use the super chat feature in the live chat, and you do have to be watching the show live in order to do that. So fire that on in, and I'll get around to answering that in the second part of the show. All right, guys. With that down, let's get everything started here with this, shall we? You know, I unapologetically love Moana. I love that movie, man. I love it so much. I got the soundtrack of it in my regular rotation when I'm driving in my car. It was like the world's #1 most streamed movie for like 4 years in a row. And so it was with some degree of interest and excitement that I saw that they were going to do a live action Moana, because when you change mediums, to me, it delivers a different experience. I also thought it was pretty interesting that they were bringing back Dwayne "The Rock" Johnson to actually play the live action of Maui. I mean, why not? And so in we went. Now, I will confess that I did not love the initial trailer. Had a little bit of a weird vibe to it. I thought the second trailer was better, but I have not ever been able to tip myself over that point of being what I would call excited to see Moana. There's something about it, and I think live action adaptations can be great. You know, I'm looking at you, Cinderella. I think they can be great, but I don't know. It just kind of felt off. Now, I have not seen Moana yet, but I'm going to go in and see it tomorrow, and my expectations have shrunk even more, because the reviews are now out for Moana, and they're not good. As of this moment, it is tracking a 35% on Rotten Tomatoes. Could be worse. Not a lot, but it could be worse. Not looking particularly good. And when you go in and actually look at the reviews, even the positive ones are like, a little bit. We go over and take a look at some of them here. Daily Telegraph wrote, "A lovely effort. They liked it. That will stand the test of time despite sticking the same blueprint as the original." Bleeding Cool did not like it. They said Moana is a remake in every sense of the word, with the only meaningful difference being the change in medium, which somehow makes some of the most beautiful locations look drab and ugly. Austin Chronicle did not like it. Screenwriter Dana Ledoux Miller barely tinkers with Jared Bush's words from the original, which leaves little to be surprised or excited by. Alonzo surprisingly liked it over at Film Verdict. He said, "The best that can be said for Moana 2026 is that for a movie that doesn't particularly need to exist in the first place, it at least succeeds as entertainment." IGN Movies gave it a pass. They said Moana offers visually pleasing live-action outing for the Polynesian heroine while being constricted by its faithfulness to the original storyline and camera beats. Daily Telegraph did not like it. It said there's barely a moment in it which feels as if it couldn't have been achieved by typing, "What if this scene from Moana was remade in live action into a video generator prompt box?" Bly Moral like to said, it entertains, it moves when appropriate, and it demonstrates a genuine respect for the source material, but it also confirms that the studio's strategy is beginning to show signs of exhaustion. That was, of course, in Spanish. Movie Web didn't like it. They said a near shot-for-shot remake that adds live actors like Dwayne Johnson, but lacks much of the original wit, charm, and heart. And then I'll just end off with coming soon. They didn't like it. They said there are tons of incompletely made movies that are significantly worse than the live action Moana. And yet I respect those films and filmmakers so much more than I respect this. Woo! All right, look, let me say this up front, guys. I have no issue, philosophically speaking, and I knew this going in. I have no issue if you want to do a live action remake and it's practically beat for beat, because if you can breathe life into it when it changes mediums, I think even if it's beat for beat, it can deliver a very different experience. So like I'll use not apples to apples comparison here, but like 300. 300 was beat for beat to the graphic novel, almost shot for shot, but it's a totally different experience, like a completely different experience to me that I really enjoyed. And I thought that was something Moana could have done, but you got to understand when you're changing mediums and you're going to go shot for shot, you still have to breathe a different soul into it. And again, I haven't seen it. Maybe I'll come out of it tomorrow. I got a great doubleheader tomorrow. I'm going to go see The Invite, and I'm going to go see, well, maybe it's not a great doubleheader. Then I'm going to go see Moana, but maybe I'll end up liking it. But it sounds like it just failed to inject the live action soul into it. I'm not really sure. So anyway, Sean, you and I haven't talked about this. Have you seen this live action Moana yet? If so, what did you think of it? If not, is anything of what we're hearing surprising you? I don't know. What are your thoughts?
No, so the press screening in Austin was last night, which was the same night as the Evil Dead Burn press screening, and I chose to go see Evil Dead Burn.
You chose wisely.
I had a really good time watching people die horrible deaths in that movie, but I just can't say that this is surprising at all because it just felt too soon. Watching the trailers, it didn't feel like there was something there that hooked you, because even if you're doing it live action, it should bring something visceral and feel real. Every shot felt so processed and artificial, like they were, which almost certainly were, in front of green screens as opposed to in open water. And so it still looked animated in its own way. And so there was nothing to it that made it feel like it justified its existence in the marketing. And so discovered that the movie itself just was another lifeless live action remake. That makes sense to me. And kind of like you, there's a number of these live action remakes that I've really enjoyed. And just in my mind, last year's How to Train Your Dragon, the idea of watching a person ride on a dragon is thrilling to see in real life in a way that it plays different versus animated. And just kind of watching this one right here, it just didn't look like it did that. It didn't find that spark.
I'm so glad you brought up How to Train Your Dragon, because I got to see like a screening of it 4 months before it came out, and I was thrilled with it. Like I couldn't believe how much I enjoyed it. And like I brought them up on the screen a second ago, but like one of our viewers is saying, well, I mean, if How to Train Your Dragon did it, why couldn't Moana? It's hard making a good movie. Even if you're remaking it off something else that already works, it's not easy. And I'm sure they wanted this to be a big hit, and I'm sure they wanted this to be good, but yeah, man, I got to say, I'm not terribly surprised to see the low scores, and I'm not particularly excited to run out and go see it tomorrow, but I will nonetheless. Anyway, guys, question is for you. What do you think about this? The reviews are now out for the live action Moana, an original film that I completely loved, but it's not getting the same love. Are you surprised to see it not getting adored? Whatever you guys think, jump down into the comments section below and let us know your thoughts. All right, guys. With that down, let's move on to this, shall we? The Emmy nominations got announced this morning. And I always, like, I'm not as much of an Emmy guy as I am an Oscars guy, but I do definitely get very, very interested when the nominees get announced and looking into that stuff. And I was very surprised and very thrilled when I go over to the Emmys official page and I go over to drama the best, now the top prize they have, I mean, yes, best comedy is also very good, but the top prize at the Emmys is best drama series. And as I clicked on best drama series to see which shows got nominated for best series, I was surprised, but delightfully so, to see A Night of the Seven Kingdoms has been nominated for best drama series. Now, the other shows, The Diplomat, which, by the way, I know a lot of you guys don't watch The Diplomat. It's an awesome show. Like, it's really good. You should check it out. Gilded Age, which I confess I've never watched. Paradise, which is great. The Pitt, which is obviously going to win everything. Pluribus, which I did not like as much as everybody else, I have to confess. Slow Horses, Your Friends and Neighbors. But, you know, for me, guys, and listen, some really, obviously The Pitt is ridiculously good. I mean, it's just so next level. It's great. But guys, I got to tell you, when I was watching Night of the Seven Kingdoms, I fell in love with it, but it's one of those shows where you love it, but you think to yourself, I don't know if other people are going to like this. Like maybe it's just, you know, doing it for me, and then find out, oh, everybody else really loves it too. But I still didn't expect to see it get recognized for a best drama series. Now, look, I'm under no illusions here. It's not going to win. I mean, The Pitt is going to win. I think that's a foregone conclusion at this point, but be that as it may, I could not be more thrilled that Night of the Seven Kingdoms got nominated. Anyway, Sean, you and I have never talked about A Night of the Seven Kingdoms. I don't know if you've watched it. I don't know if you liked it, but what do you think about it getting a nomination? How did you feel about the show? And are there any other things that are standing out to you on the list, or shows that you're surprised didn't make the list? What do you think?
So as for the show, I have watched it, and from the trailers, I wasn't excited for it at all. Like, I didn't get it from the trailers, and then watched the first episode and was like, I think it was the first couple episodes it took me to really get it. And I was like, oh, this is really interesting. And I used a word, charming, to describe it that I never thought I would use to describe something in the world of Game of Thrones.
Yeah.
And it just has a certain likability to it that it's still just as brutal, cruel as the rest of the world of Game of Thrones, but much characters that are much easier to root for. I'm actually rewatching Game of Thrones right now, and even the way they like mention Dunk in a couple episodes here and there, it fleshes out the world in a really fun way. Like, we're like, hey, that's the guy we watched the show about. But like you said, I wasn't expecting it to get nominations, because it felt like it flew a little bit under the radar, because it's designed to be much smaller in scale and doesn't have the grand epic storytelling of the other Game of Thrones shows. So I thought maybe it would get overlooked. So it's just real pleasant to actually see it get noticed. But as for my other thoughts on the nominations, I'm just fascinated by how many shows I haven't seen that are on that list, because there's just so much great television these days.
Too much.
Oh, that is the, you know, I was talking to somebody in the live chat earlier before the show starts, like, John, why haven't you started watching X-Men 97 season 2 yet? It's like, there's a lot, you know, I still haven't gotten around to watching Fallout season 2 yet. And I love Fallout.
Yeah.
Me neither.
There you go.
Yeah. And so like, and I really liked X-Men 97 season 1. I still haven't started watching Rooster, which we'll talk about. We'll talk about Rooster in a minute here, because Steve Carell once again gets nominated for Best Actor in a comedy series. There's just so much great TV.
Yeah.
One thing that I did kind of notice that didn't make the list, I wouldn't have put it on the list personally, but I kind of thought it might slip in there, which was, well, there's a couple of them actually. One was Stranger Things. I thought I had
a feeling it would not.
Yeah, I mean, I wouldn't have put it on the list. I thought the final season was good. I enjoyed the final season. I thought they kind of botched the second half of the final episode, but whatever. I thought the season was good, but I wouldn't have nominated for best drama. But I kind of thought with it, I mean, let's call it what it is. Like, Stranger Things has been a television institution for like a decade. So I kind of thought maybe with them wrapping it up that they might give a nomination to that. What was the other one? Oh, there was another one I was totally fixated on that I thought might get nominated. Now I'm freezing on it. Anyway, Jonathan, do you got any shows that you thought might have gotten a nomination, but we didn't see actually get one?
These pretty much fall within the line. I'm just going to say that while Slow Horses I'm a fan of, it is destined to be always a bridesmaid and never a bride. That show will never win. just because of what it has to constantly go up against, but it seems to always get nominated. And it's a great show, so check it out if you haven't. Night of the Seven Kingdoms. It's the most wholesome you're going to get with Game of Thrones. and when you think about it, he represents us. He represents the audience, because
He really does.
So often in the world of Game of Thrones, we're so jaded, especially now with House of Dragon. At best, your character is going to make pragmatic decisions, and at worst, evil decisions. He was saying the audience is saying, be heroic, be noble, be larger than these simple decisions of like cowardice and fear and evil. So I think that's why it spoke to audiences so much. So I'm, but I am shocked that a 6-episode, basically, it's not a mini series, but a 6-episode series is nominated now for best drama, which is crazy in and of itself.
Yeah. Anyway, guys, question is for you. What do you think about this? I mean, there's some really good nominated shows, and obviously The Pitt is going, it's probably the best show out there, but I am so thrilled, like, especially in recent years, to see shows like Penguin get nominated for best series, to see A Night of the Seven Kingdoms, which shouldn't surprise us too much because Game of Thrones did, but this is such a different kind of show than Game of Thrones. Anyway, whatever you guys think about it, jump down into the comment section below and let us know your thoughts. All right, guys. With that down, let's move on to this, shall we? Well, as far as genre stuff goes, A Night of the Seven Kingdoms isn't the only thing that got a surprisingly huge nomination. Wonderman, which was a Marvel show that I had very little interest in the lead up to it. Like in the year or so leading up to it, I had very, very little interest in it. And then it came out and I watched it, and oh my God, I couldn't believe how much I enjoyed it. It was such a different kind of show, like even more different for a Marvel show than A Night of the Seven Kingdoms was for a Game of Thrones show. You know what I mean? It like totally blew my socks off. And to my surprise, but again, pleasant surprise, when I went over to the Emmy Award nominations today and I clicked on comedy series, the lead actor category, look who's in there. Yahya Abdul-Mateen has been nominated for Best Actor in a Comedy Series, and look who he's nominated up there with. Steve Carell for Rooster, Matthew Rhys for The Wonderful Widow's Bay, Jason Segel for what I think is probably the best show on television right now. Well, I mean, it's not airing currently, but Shrinking. And obviously, you're always going to find Martin Short or Steve Martin in this conversation as well for Only Murders in the Building. But and again, I love all these guys. I love them all. Obviously, I haven't started watching Rooster yet. Again, I don't know that I've ever seen it. I'm not saying Shrinking is my all-time favorite show. I'm just saying I don't know that I've ever had a television show that made me alternate between feeling extremely emotional and then laughing my ass off in the same 5 seconds. That show is just something really special, man. And it's so good to see that. And by the way, just as a side note, while I'm on this tangent, it's also really good to see Harrison Ford get nominated for Best Supporting Actor. Then right beside him, you see Parks and Rec alum Nick Offerman, who's actually been nominated twice. He was nominated for Best Supporting in a comedy and another for a limited series. So he's got 2 acting nominations this year. But we are here to talk about Yahya Abdul-Mateen. And again, guys, that was actress. As I said earlier, guys, like this was one of those shows that completely caught me off guard. Like I expected them to do the traditional Marvel formula. A lot of explosions. Oh my God, I have this power. I have this responsibility. I'm going to go out and stop wrongdoing. Instead, it's this beautiful discourse about love of the art, finding oneself, redemption. I mean, listen, watching a Marvel series, I could have watched an entire series, all of the episodes, if it was just Yahya Abdul-Mateen and Sir Ben Kingsley sitting in a room talking. Like those are some of my favorite moments, just when they're talking about like the history of film and these great moments and all this stuff. And when that one scene where they're sitting in his apartment and Trevor is just like, he starts going into these like, I can't remember. Was it a Citizen Kane speech? I can't remember now.
He did King Lear. He
It was
launched with King
That's what I
Lear,
was thinking. It was King Lear that he launched with.
and then Yahya Abdul did Grapes of Wrath, and then it went back over, and he did Mozart. Why can't I think of Amadeus?
It's been a while. It's been a while since I've seen it, but I couldn't be more thrilled that he got it. I mean, again, this is one of those things where watching it, much like Night of the Seven Kingdoms, I'm watching, I'm like, God, I love this. I don't know if other people will, but this is really hitting me. And again, everybody seemed to love it. They loved it enough that they changed it from a limited series to a comedy because they were never planned on doing a season 2. And because of the reception now they are. So it's good to see. Anyway, Sean, you saw Yahya Abdul-Mateen gets nominated for Best Actor in a Comedy Series. He's up there with names like Steve Carell, Martin Short. I mean, this is crazy. And I love seeing the show get its recognition. What did you think about his performance in Wonderman?
Yeah, I mean, I'd agree with most of everything you said there. Of when they put out the trailers, I didn't know what to make of it, because when you think of what you expect from the MCU, and then you see those trailers, is like, I don't see how this piece fits. And even using the Trevor character, I didn't know how that piece fit.
Yeah.
And then you watch the show, and it's just kind of this beautiful bromance. And of course, Sir Ben Kingsley's is an absolute legend. That and you put the two of them together, and they just bring the best out of each other. They have the most unexpected chemistry that you wouldn't immediately go, yeah, these two guys will just play off of each other great. And the whole show, to your point, is dependent on the fact that you just have to love watching these two guys
100%
interact with each other. And you do immediately, you buy into it, and therefore the show works. Therefore you want more from it. And both being excited for him, but also for the idea of the MCU took a risk, and they're being celebrated for it. They're not just doing the same playbook. They're not doing the same formula. They took a risk. They tried something really different, and they're being rewarded for it. I think that's a good thing.
You know, to your point, I think, you know, if you don't buy that chemistry, and if you don't buy into that connection, especially when you get near the end of the series in the finale, like, you really feel, yeah, Trevor would sacrifice himself for him. He would. And then, yeah, he would put everything else on hold to go and try to break him out of prison. Like, if you don't buy that, then the ending feels trite and it feels artificial. You know what I mean?
Everything is earned. Everything is earned in this series.
Everything is earned. Every emotional beat and stuff like that is earned. I also, I don't want to go on about it too long, but man, the scenes where Trevor is talking to his mom when he's at his mom's place, like, I just found that so, Sean, I think you used the word charming. I found it so charming and beautiful, and just not the kind of feelings you expect to get elicited when you go in to watch a Marvel Disney Plus show.
We were just coming off of Ironheart, so we were going into this like,
don't remind me.
Beleaguered. This is going to suck too. And personally, this was actually became my favorite Marvel series. When it ended, I asked myself, I said, did we just become best friends? I was like, did this become my favorite Marvel series? And I said, yes, it is. It took me by storm. I mean, it took everyone else by storm too.
Yeah, I ended up liking it way more than I thought it would. Anyway, guys, question is for you. What do you think about this? Yahya Abdul-Mateen has been nominated, again, up there with names like Martin Short and Steve Carell, for Best Actor for a Comedy Series for a Marvel show, Wonderman. You know what? I'm totally shocked and surprised, but I couldn't be happier for him. Whatever you guys think about it, jump down to the comment section below and let us know your thoughts. All right, guys. With that down, let's move on to this. Staying loosely on the theme of this year's Emmys, there is a wonderful story that came out there that kind of caught my attention, and then I saw it come to fruition today. One of the best things about the Pitt this season, and this season of the Pitt might have been even better than last season of the Pitt, but was the storyline they did in it of the mom who had cancer and her husband, and she had her kids there. And it was like a 7-episode stretch she was in, and trying to just prepare herself and prepare her husband and her kids for her death. And then ultimately she dies in the show. And it was one of the things, I mean, there were a lot of great things about the season of The Pitt. That was one of the absolute highlights. Well, what happened then later on was when HBO was putting together its for your consideration packages, they declined to submit her for best guest appearance by an actress. Now, remember, you qualify, but the difference between a supporting actor or actress and a guest actor or actress is to qualify for a guest actor or actress, you have to appear in less than 50% of the episodes, which she did. Because I have to admit, I thought she was in a lot of episodes. Why isn't she nominated for best supporting? But it was for best guest actress. But HBO declined to submit her. So she said to herself, she said, "Self, I think I did really good work. So I'm going to pay the fees myself, and I'm going to submit myself to the Emmys."
Treat yourself.
Treat yourself. Another great Parks and Rec reference. I'm going to submit myself for best guest appearance by an actress in a series. And wouldn't you know it, today comes the the Emmy nominations. And give me a call back, HBO, why Brittany Allen submitted herself for an Emmy as a dying cancer patient on The Pitt after the networks ignored her calls. And she didn't just submit herself for it, but as we go over and take a look at under drama series, guest actress, look who's right there in the first spot, Brittany Allen for The Pitt. And two other actresses for The Pitt. So and by the way, there's I think actually, just let me jump over to this quickly. I want to show this. Best guest actress in a comedy. I think there are 7 nominees and 5 of them are for Hacks. 5 of them are from the same show. Then you've got Jamie Lee Curtis for The Bear and Betty Glippin for Widow's Bay. But 5 of them from Hacks. Just had to put that out there. Anyway, again, this to me, this is not a big story. This is not going to be one of the segments I put up that gets a lot of clicks. It's just not. But to me, this is one of those great little feel-good stories that I love hearing about. And it's not just a gimmick, because she was insanely good playing this role. I bought her vulnerability, her fragility, her strength, all of it, all wrapped into one. Her pain, her sadness. I mean, I've watched The Pitt enough that I know she's not making it, but I kept hoping that at some point Dr. Robbie was going to come through the doors and say, "I figured it out," and she was going to be cured or something, and the kids would be, "Yay!" But that, of course, did not happen. I loved her in the show. I just love the fact that she believed in herself enough that she forked over the money herself and submitted herself, and she believed in herself. And I don't know that she's going to win, but I mean, the very fact that she now gets to go to the Emmys, hear her name called out for this, I think it's great. Anyway, Sean, you hear this story. What are you taking away from it? What do you think about it?
I haven't been able to watch The Pitt yet after being on this episode. Now I feel like I need to start watching the show tonight.
Oh my God, it's
but like
so
you
good.
said, it's just, and I've only heard amazing things about it. And just, being alive in the 90s and Noah Wyle being back in this genre, I've been excited for it. There's just so much out there. But like you said, it's just like a feel-good story that I hadn't heard about this. And then you kind of, I start reading about it and preparing for the show. It's like, that's just really cool. And a lot of TV shows now with the streaming model, guest stars don't have the same impact, or they aren't as common as they used to be. And so kind of having this return, even through The Pitt, kind of being on HBO, but returning to kind of older formats with guest stars and things like that. And you see things like this where someone can have their breakout star-making performance out of being a guest on a show and then running their own campaign. It's really cool. Kind of reminds me of the first thing I saw Jeffrey Dean Morgan in was in Grey's Anatomy. And he was just a guest part for a handful of episodes. Who is this guy? This guy's great. And then, of course, he's gone on for the last 20 years to be very prominent in so many different shows and movies. And maybe this is her kind of break moment of out of this comes a huge career. So it's just a heartwarming story.
Yeah, I love seeing stories like this. Anyway, guys, the question is for you. What do you think about this? This incredible lady, Brittany Allen, who gave such a great performance on the Pitt season 2, submitted herself when HBO wouldn't do it, and she ended up getting nominated for her role. Whatever you guys think about it, jump down into the comment section below and let us know your thoughts. All right, guys. With that down, there's something we haven't done here for a little while, and that is play ourselves a game of what's more likely. Here's how this thing works. A little bit earlier today, we jumped on the community tab on the YouTube channel, and we asked you guys to submit some scenarios of what would be more likely. You guys sent in a ton of them. We've picked out a few of them. Jonathan's got them in front of him. So Jonathan, what do we got?
Okay, today we're going to start with you, John. This comes from Tyler Abshir, who says, what's more likely, The Odyssey or Dune Part 3 wins Best Picture?
Well, look, we're going to talk about the Dune trailer in just a few minutes here, which, oh my God. Okay. That being said, I have not seen The Odyssey and I've not seen Dune 3, obviously, but with the reviews that have now come out from all the major outlets and stuff like that, like raving about The Odyssey being, they were using, like, guys at Variety were using words like perfection, groundbreaking, masterpiece, astonishing, blah, blah. Some people saying it's Christopher Nolan's best work and whatever. We talked about this on the show the other day, but like the odds makers, like the awards circuit now, odds makers have The Odyssey at number 1, most likely to do that. That being said, you guys know I think Dune 2 is the best movie of the past 10 years. And it's Denis Villeneuve. And I expect no less from him coming into Dune 3, even though I think the source material for this movie is a little bit more shaky, to be kind. But I don't know, Sean. Listen, there's still a lot of other very, very big and very, like, Digger can't be ignored. There's a lot of big ones still to come. But if it's out of the two of them, I still think right now I'll say it's more likely that The Odyssey wins Best Picture out of the two. What do you think?
Yeah, same. I'm going to go with The Odyssey. Some of it just simply goes to the source material. You've got two top tier directors that they're both going to be immaculate productions, but one is adapting The Odyssey and the other is adapting one of the Dune books that isn't as beloved as the original. And so how will that translate? I'm not quite sure. I'm sure it'll be fantastic because the last two were, and the director has incredible built-in trust. But I think now that we have early buzz on The Odyssey, and the only word I saw criticizing The Odyssey was the word clunky from one person. Like, the biggest criticism was not S tier Nolan. That's the biggest criticism I saw in going through, like,
I remember that, and they said
reactions to it.
They said the first half is clunky and then pays off in the end. Yeah, you're right.
Yeah.
That was the most negative thing I saw about it too. Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
All right, Jonathan, what do we got up next?
All right, we're going to stick with you, Sean, on this one. This comes from Super Smart 1256. What's more likely, Man of Tomorrow or a Minecraft movie squared makes more worldwide?
Ooh.
For me, I would say that Minecraft is going to make more money because I've got a 14-year-old boy in my house and they are just obsessed with Minecraft. That is their world. I'm middle-aged. I don't get it. The chicken jockey, the chaos, the throwing popcorn was weird to me, but the target audience loved that movie and they want more of that utter insanity, the brain rot, the TikTok brain. That's their cinematic language. And so I think it's going to make crazy amounts of money. I'm a little bit worried about Man of Tomorrow after Supergirl. And did they do too many super movies in a row as the kickoff to this universe? And so I'm just a little bit worried that we'll have some diminishing returns rather than growing returns.
I don't have any worries about Man of Tomorrow because it's James Gunn directing and writing it, and it's going to be coming, like, thankfully it's not coming off the heels of Supergirl. It's going to be coming off of, Clayface and Lanterns, which hopefully will be good. I loved Superman, and I think Man of Tomorrow is going to be great, but it's absolutely going to be Minecraft. I mean, listen, the first Minecraft movie came within a whiff of being a $1 billion film. And I didn't even think the movie was all that good. I mean, I'm with Sean. I'm watching. I'm like, okay. I heard a lot of people in the theater laughing around me. I'm like, all right. Like, I don't think it's bad. Don't get me wrong. I didn't think it was a crappy movie, but I didn't think it was all that good. But you're right, Sean. The target demographic loved that movie. And I think they are going to be back for the sequel in spades. Do I think Superman or Man of Tomorrow will make more than the first Superman? Yes, but I don't think it'll make as much as Minecraft 1 did. I think Minecraft 2 will make more than Minecraft 1 did. And so, yeah, I'm going to agree with Sean on this and say it's going to be the Minecraft sequel that makes more money out of the two. All right, Jonathan, what do we got up next?
All right. Next up, we hear from Dylan Kalamarski. We're going to go over to you, John, on this one. The Terminator franchise or the Matrix franchise makes a comeback. What a depressing question.
I feel like I should have a shovel in the corner for how deep of a ditch both of these franchises have dug themselves into. I mean, look, here's the thing. Terminator is something they have tried again and again and again. And even lately, good Canadian kid James Cameron has said, I've got an idea for another Terminator movie. Okay, sure. I mean, it's great mythology. So is The Matrix. By the way, I still contend that they are one shared cinematic universe, if you think about it. I just don't think you can go back to The Matrix. I think The Matrix was what it was. I think the first two, I actually like the second one more than most people do. I actually quite enjoyed the second one. The third one, not so much. I think it probably was a franchise that overstayed its welcome. And oh my God, Sean, don't even get me going into the fourth one they did. Oh, I was so excited for that movie. It's like, what on earth is this? It was so, what was it called? Resurrections? Yeah, Matrix Resurrections.
It had promise, but
it had promise. It absolutely had promise, and it diddled it all away. It was terrible. Oh, look, the real answer is neither, but I think the one that would have a better chance is Matrix, but unfortunately, because James Cameron's talking about it, I think it is more likely that we get more Terminator. Anyway, Sean, what do you think?
I would go with more likely would be Terminator, because I think The Matrix, what they did with the mythology with parts 2 and 3 just left it really difficult for there to be anywhere to go that recaptures the magic of the original. Where with the Terminator franchise, the lore is just so big that there's a lot of places that you can go in current continuity. Or I think you could do a 40th anniversary, 45th anniversary remake of the entire thing, go back to the original horror roots and stop trying to make it a blockbuster. I think one of the worst things to ever happen to the Terminator franchise was Terminator 2, which is my favorite movie of all time, but it broke their brains. They went, it has to be a big blockbuster. We have to do that again. And it forgot that it started with a sci-fi movie that was borrowing the tropes of the slasher genre. And I think you could go back to that and write something
like
really
Alien.
Clever. Mm-hmm. Exactly.
By the way,
Alien.
I gotta bring this up. One of our live viewers, I assume they're talking about Matrix 4, said the fourth was misunderstood. If you mean misunderstood in the way that you go to pick up, your aunt sends you to pick up your drunk uncle at the bar who's passed out in a half puddle of his own vomit, and you say, hey, Uncle Rick, how you doing? And he goes, if by that you mean misunderstood, sure. Matrix 4 was misunderstood. All right. I think we got one more, Jonathan. What do we got up next?
Two more. That was only two more.
That was only third one. All right, two more.
Yeah. And what they should do, in my opinion, since the Matrix and the Terminator are the same world, it's just the culmination. They're going to blend the two. Abraham Ruiz. Sorry, these are spelled in one word, so it's kind of hard to figure it out. Abraham Ruiz. This is going over you, Kyle. What's more likely? WB Paramount deal goes through, or Netflix picks up NBC Universal?
I think I'm going to go with WB Paramount deal goes through. Hopefully, maybe that's just wishful thinking, because I just don't want Netflix acquiring any of these. I don't want any of these long-established studios, networks, anything to fall under the Netflix banner. I don't mind Netflix as its own ecosystem, but I don't want it consuming any more and losing any classic 100-year-old companies into the Netflix ecosystem. So I don't want any of the acquisitions to take place, but I'd rather some of those other ones than Netflix happen. So it's just more wishful thinking on my part.
I disagree with you in one sense that I used to think the exact same way that you did, but then, I got won over to the idea that I like the idea of Netflix getting one of the studios, because instead of taking a studio out of the system, it brings Netflix into the game. And when I started looking at all the rationales behind it and how that would work, I started to get won over by it. But I completely agree with you in the sense that by far the more likely thing is that Warner Brothers and Paramount deal goes through. You guys know, despite the fact of all things we've been talking about, the states are still bringing their legal challenges. There's still some iffy stuff going on in the UK, but I've always maintained that I still think the deal's going to go through. At the end of the day, I think it'll go through. They might have to alter the deal a bit. They might have to contort a little bit, but I think at the end of the day, the deal goes through. But the main reason that I think it is more likely that the Paramount Warner Brothers deal goes through than Netflix getting NBC Universal, which is probably going up for sale, is because I don't think Netflix wants NBC Universal. I think they want Warner Brothers. And I don't know what you think of this, Sean. I've said this on my show before. I honestly think one of the reasons Netflix walked away so easily, with a $2.5 billion check from Paramount, of course, one of the reasons they walked away so easily is because, and I could be wrong about this, I believe Ted Sarandos' Netflix 100% believes that Paramount is going to fail. And I think he believes, and the reason they walked away so easily with that $2 billion check is because they believe in 2 or 3 years' time, they're going to be able to sweep back in and buy the whole thing for pennies on the dollar. I might be right or wrong. Ted Sarandos might be right or wrong to think that, but I think that's their strategy right now. And because of that, I don't think they're interested, honestly, in picking up NBC Universal. So I agree with Sean. I think it's going to probably be Paramount Warner Brothers deal going through.
I can't imagine Peace Guys, that's the ticker, that their stock is really going to skyrocket with all the debt that they're holding after this deal.
It's over $100 billion in debt. It's going to, I did the calculations of how many hundreds of thousands of dollars per second that they're going to be accruing in interest. Like it's kind of crazy. Hey. But listen, Daddy Ellison didn't build Oracle by accident. I mean, I think there's a shot here it can work, and I'm going to hope that it works, but we'll see what happens. All right, Jonathan, now it's our last one. What do we got up next?
The final one. We're going to stick with you, John, on this one. It's from Spacey Casey. What's more likely in a year from now? What's more likely to be considered a bigger failure? Supergirl, Mando and Grogu, or Masters of the Universe?
It's interesting the way you worded that. You didn't ask which is going to be considered to be worse, but rather which is going to be considered to be the bigger failure, because I think those are two different things. Because if the question was, which movie will we look back on and think was the worst? I honestly think Masters of the Universe was the worst. Now, I get it. A number of my friends, and including, I think you, Jonathan, didn't mind Masters of the Universe. I think Rob
and I both enjoyed it. Yeah.
You guys both liked it. I was really disappointed with it. I thought it had a few moments. I think all three of these movies had some good things going for them. Like, I think Mandalorian Grogu had its moments. I think Supergirl had its moments. I think Masters of the Universe had its moments. But at the end of the day, I thought Masters of the Universe was the worst of the two. And then Supergirl and Mando, I'd probably put on kind of equal footing. But to me, the way you worded it is, a year from now, when we look back, what will be considered the bigger failure? And I think it's got to be Supergirl, because I don't think there was a lot of expectation on Mando and Grogu. Mando and Grogu wasn't coming off a position of strength and success. Not as much was riding on Mando and Grogu, because we all knew we got Starfighter coming next year. Yeah. Which, by the way, I think is going to be awesome. Supergirl, on the other hand, well, I think just as good as Mandalorian and Grogu, and that's not saying much because I don't think either are good. And while better than Masters of the Universe, nobody expected much from Masters of the Universe, right? Let's just be honest. Nobody expected much from it. So I think for when there are people who came out of the theater really enjoying it, I think that's bonus. But with Supergirl, you're coming off the heels of a tremendously successful Superman. You're trying to build on that momentum. You're trying to help propel this brand new cinematic universe forward. You had a great director in place. You had this really great character. You had not just pretty good, you had really good source material to draw from. And then it just is what it is. It wasn't a good movie to me. So because of all those other factors, I don't think it's the worst of the three, Sean, but the question was, what will we look back on as the bigger failure? I think we're probably going to look back at Supergirl as the biggest failure. I don't know. What do you think out of the three?
Yeah. So, I mean, on just pure quality, Masters of the Universe was my favorite of those three movies by a good bit. I liked it a good bit more than Mando and Grogu and Supergirl, partially just because my wife loved it. And so if my wife gets into something nerdy, then apparently it's the lead guy. He was in this movie called The Idea of You. She was obsessed with it 2 years ago.
Oh yeah, Anne loves that one.
I thought it was for Anne Hathaway. I thought that's why my wife was obsessed with it. And then she became obsessed with He-Man. I was like, all right, it's just Nick is the reality here. But yeah, I don't think there was expectations of He-Man. They knew they were trying to bring back a franchise to life, and it was always going to be a hard sell. Mando and Grogu felt like a placeholder movie, and they kind of knew that. But Supergirl, this was the first movie not written and directed by James Gunn. And so there's just a lot of eyes on it. There was expectation. There's all the statements James Gunn kind of made about script coming first, quality coming first. And this was the test of that. And I don't think it did pass the test. It didn't turn out great. Like James Gunn really liked Superman last year, but is he doing equally good work shepherding these other projects? Based on this one, it doesn't look that way. So I think that's the one that...
I was going to say, Sean, I'm curious to know your thoughts on this because I don't think I've talked to you about this. Like listen, I am no James Gunn hater. I am a huge James Gunn fanboy. I love James Gunn. But you know, I have had this feeling for a while, and Supergirl only made me double down on it. To quote Ron Swanson in Parks and Rec, don't half-ass two things, whole-ass one thing. Damn. And I just don't know that, you know, if you're directing a movie, that is a 24-hour a day, 7-day a week, 52-week a year, totally obsessed in the middle of your sleep and everything like that job until that movie's done. And that's a 2-year-long process. Being the CEO of a production company is a full-time job. And I don't mind. Actually, I like the idea that he kicked off the DCU by directing the first. I thought that was a good idea.
Sure.
But then they announced he's going to get right back to it again and do that. And it's like, I don't know that you're going to be able to properly, like you just brought up, Sean, I don't think he's going to be able to properly do both jobs. I don't think he's going to be able to shepherd properly the DCU if he's on set all the time and in an editing room all the time. I just don't think he can do it. I don't know. Do you share my skepticism, or are you more optimistic about that than I am?
Well, even adding to that list, writing Creature Commandos, writing Peacemaker season 2, that each one of these is a full-time job. Like these are all, you know, Kevin Feige has not directed any MCU films.
Yep.
And he's still spread thin doing a lot of different things. And back in the day, he said, we're only going to do one movie at a time or one movie per year. Then we're only going to do 2 movies per year. We're only going to do 3 movies per year. And when they expanded that to doing TV shows, that's where, you know, the quality seemed to drop. And that's without him writing and directing anything. And you look at James Gunn, and right out of the gate, he wrote 2 TV shows and a movie, all that came out in the span of a year, while trying to shepherd a bunch of different scripts. One of them's now come out. Another one comes out, or, you know, a TV show and a movie are coming out in the next few months while he was writing his next movie and now directing his next movie. When is he actually shepherding these scripts? When is he actually making sure that they fall in alignment? Can you do all of that? You're only one person.
And there are whispers going around. I don't buy them myself, but there are whispers going around that he's now considering doing the Batman movie himself, which it's like, so I don't know. We'll see.
That's probably a mistake, honestly.
It is a mistake unless he steps down as if he wants to step down as the head of DC and just focus on making films.
Yeah.
Godspeed. Awesome. But I just don't think you can do both.
And I wonder when you look at financially, you know, something like Disney and Lucasfilm, they can weather the storm of a loss or a barely break even on. This is nothing for them. Oh, it didn't perform that well, financially, whatever. It affects DC Studios a loss, much more. So I think in the long run, that'll hurt them.
All right, guys, that will wrap up this session of What's More Likely. Thank you so much to all you guys who sent in your scenarios. Keep your eyes open on the YouTube channel for the next time we put out a call for submissions, and maybe you'll see your scenario featured on the next round of What's More Likely. All right, guys. With that down, let's move on to this. Dune 3 trailer dropped. Dune 3 trailer dropped. We heard that they did this big event, and they were going to be dropping the trailer at this event, and then they'd be dropping the trailer online. I was actually faced with a very rare situation today where I actually, guys, had to make the thumbnail for today's show with that title, Dune 3 trailer drops, before the Dune 3 trailer dropped, and then just cross my fingers that it actually does drop. And sure enough, drop it did. Look, you guys have heard me talk about that at CinemaCon. They showed us the first 7 to 8 minutes of Dune 3. Mm-hmm. And I can't remember the last time I was that paralyzed with awesomeness in a movie theater. With what they showed. Again, it's just a huge battle sequence that makes the opening scene of Saving Private Ryan, I don't know, look like a Nerf gunfight. It was so brutal and intense. And like, by the time it ended, I could feel every muscle in my body was sore because everything was clenched. Everything was totally clenched. And I was just floored by it. It looked amazing. I thought the first trailer was dynamite. First trailer was great. So how would they do with the second trailer? I think the second trailer is better than the first one. And part of the reason is because it does what a second trailer should do. The second trailer tiptoed a little bit more into the story. Now we're understanding the Duncan, Idaho thing. That whole conversation that Momoa has with Chalamet, it's like, you've conquered thousands of worlds. How do you feel about that? I think you're beyond redemption. I mean, it was just so intense and so insane. And then they showed just glimpses of that opening battle sequence, like just a couple of little glimpses over the opening battle sequence. We just got a little bit of a taste of Anya Taylor-Joy in there, and her character is going to be bonkers, like absolutely bonkers. And like, I don't know, because you guys know that I have been worried about Dune 3 because I'm not a big fan of Dune Messiah. I think every subsequent of the 738 Dune books get progressively worse and worse and worse as they go. I love the first one. I'm not a big fan of Dune Messiah, so I've had some concerns about Dune Part 3, but we've also known that if you looked at the first Dune films, Denis Villeneuve has taken some pretty big creative liberties and changed a lot of things, and maybe he'll change a lot here. Look, we're still going to have to get 1 or 2 more trailers to go because the movie's still more than 5 months away. It's still more than 5 months away. I can't believe we have 2 trailers for it already. But I don't know about you guys. I watched this trailer, and then the trailer ended, and I didn't move for about 30 seconds. I just kept looking at my screen, and then finally moved my hand to go click the play button again. And we were talking a little bit earlier, guys, about what's more likely to win Best Picture this year, The Odyssey or Dune 3. I mean, this trailer does a lot to move the needle for me about its possibilities. Anyway, Sean, you had a chance to watch the trailer for this new trailer, I should say, for Dune 3. What did you take away from it? What do you think about it?
I can't wait to watch this movie, and it feels like it's such a good year for sci-fi, where you kick off the year and you've got Project Hail Mary, so wildly different from something like Dune, but both of them with just absolutely flawless productions in their own ways. But I mean, I just love how immersive just even the trailer is of pulling you into this world, and everything that you see, every character feels fully developed, even when you're just seeing them for 30 seconds in a trailer being introduced with their motivation. and you can know so much about them because they're just, everything is thought through, every detail matters. And it's a continuation of this flipping of the hero's journey that is Paul Atreides, and playing that out even further, and just you feel the tension of it, the lack of clear heroes and villains, but investment in the world and the politics of it all with spectacle. I mean, just so excited for it.
I mean, there was that moment in it where Florence Pugh, like, you plan to kill Paul Atreides.
Oh, I love that line.
It's like, you idiot. You condemned yourselves to death. And I'm like, oh, things are good. Like, what a line. Oh my God.
Just this one little line, and it's so powerful and tells us so much about both of them.
Yeah. Oh, that's the line. So Michael corrects me on the actual wording of it. You've signed our death warrants. Yeah. It's like, it's so good. You know what? Here's the thing too. This is why I'm going to admit I'm experiencing the effects of Cialis right now. But when I look at a trailer like this, we hope when we go into a movie, we get one of two things. Like, we get the thrills, like great action films, great comedies, stuff like that will be delivered the thrills, or will be delivered the great drama. Whether it's a King's Speech or some other like S tier level kind of film. Like, we go into these movies hoping that we get to experience one of those things. But every once in a while, whether it's peak Game of Thrones or Dune, we get blessed with the golden opportunity to walk into a movie and get both. And now, look, maybe it'll deliver, maybe it won't. I haven't seen it. Every director has a bad day at the office. Even Steven Spielberg made Terminal. But, and maybe this will be Denis Villeneuve's Terminal. Who knows? But it's just one of those really rare special things where you can go into it thinking you might see your best drama and see your best action film in one and the same movie. You know what I mean? Mm-hmm. And that's what makes this so special. And that's why people are kind of surprised when they ask me, what's my most anticipated film of the year? And I think everybody expects me to say Doomsday. And I am certainly excited about Doomsday, although I'm going to talk about this on the show tomorrow. I'm hearing it's not going so good. Again, I'll talk more about that tomorrow, because you guys know I'm super excited for Doomsday. I've been saying all year, this is going to be like the Avengers movie to end all Avengers movies. But anyway, getting back to this. Yeah. People get like a little bit surprised when I say, and it's actually not Doomsday, it's Dune, because, Dune 2 is I think the best movie of the last 10 years. And I saw the clips that we saw at CinemaCon, and I think this is just going to be this, this has the potential to be one of those movies that ruins movies for you. Like, I have a feeling like for like 3 months after I see Dune 3, it'll be like, I could see another great movie and go, yeah, it's no Dune 3, which is totally stupid way to approach our movie fandom. But like, I'm trying to think, Sean, of, like I just said, like, in television, it kind of happened with peak Game of Thrones, where you're getting like the great action thrill experience and the best drama at once. And I can think of Dune. I don't know. Can you think of any other examples that like are really great television shows or movies that really did give you both experience, the thrills and the great drama? Those are the only two that kind of pop off the top of my head.
Well, I mean, Lord of the Rings 20 years ago.
Right.
Perfect example. Yeah. That's probably,
I mean,
that's the one.
You have a handful of those ones that are just, peak nerd culture, but also there's no denying this is just fantastic. Maybe you could argue The Dark Knight, or some of Nolan's things like
Dark
that.
Knight's a good one too. Yeah.
Great entertainment films, but also just like, wow, what a smart concept and a smart script executed so well. But yeah.
Anyway, guys, question is for you. Did you have a chance to see this amazing Dune 3 trailer? And by the way, a lot of people asking, oh my, how do we have 2 Dune trailers and we don't have a Doomsday trailer yet? Well, do keep in mind, guys, Doomsday is still more than 5 months away. Like, I'm sure we're probably getting the trailer at Comic-Con, so, don't worry about it. But I thought listen, Doomsday's got some big shoes to fill here because the bar has officially been raised. Whatever you guys thought about the trailer, jump down into the comment section below and let us know your thoughts. And all right, guys, that will wrap up all of our main topics here. We're going to move it now over to start taking your live questions. But before we do, I want to thank, of course, our very special guest here, Sean Chandler from Sean Talks About. Sean, thanks so much for being here, man. I hope I get to see you in Austin, actually, in a couple of months. But I'm hoping we're going to have you back on here very quickly.
Absolutely. It's always a pleasure to get to talk movies way too much with you. And in particular, when we get to talk about things like Dune that are really exciting.
And of course, our technical director, Jonathan Voico. Thanks, man.
What an embarrassment of riches this year is for auteur directors and just movies that we're getting. But hey, guys, see you soon.
And all right, guys, now let's do our thing and get over and start taking your live comments and questions. Now, I'm going to let you know, once again, I have forgotten to turn off the super chats. So we've got a bunch of questions in there. I am now turning off the super chats. Don't worry. If you've already sent it in, we still have it. It's there. But I just got to get that turned off for now because we've got as many in there as I can possibly handle. All right, let's get over and get things started. And who are we starting with? I think we're starting with, Gopala writes, prediction. Pattinson will be the lead of Nolan's next movie. It's not a bad prediction. He's already worked with him a couple of times, and he does like to work with his regular stable of actors. By the way, is it just me, or is he in almost all the most exciting movies for the next 2 years? Well, I mean, yeah, look, he's got the Odyssey, Twilight Boy. He's got the new Batman movie coming out. He's got Dune coming out. So yeah, it's always good to be Robert Pattinson. It's just pretty exceptionally good to be Robert Pattinson right now. All right. Next up, Cassidy Kelly writes, how X-Men 97 isn't being talked about on the show. I guess it's not that popular with your viewers. It's so good though. Storm, Jubilee, and Magneto. Yeah, listen, I just haven't I really liked X-Men 97 season 1. We talked about it a lot when the first season was out. I enjoyed it a great deal. I haven't gotten around to watching X-Men 97 season 2 yet. At the same time, and I know people don't like when I say this because I really do enjoy the show. I really do. But I enjoy it for what it is, which is simpler, bite-sized, Twitter-portioned, animated short storytelling, where they cram a lot of what could be a 2-hour movie of a story into one 20-minute episode. So, like, I really enjoy it and I like it a lot, but it's also a very tweet kind of, like, episodes are like tweets. They're just very shorthand, very short form. And so, but again, I say that and I fear I give the impression like I don't like the show. I really do. But I just haven't gotten around to watching season 2 yet. Hopefully I'm going to get on that very, very soon. All right. Next up, Amin writes, it's funny how we've now gotten 2 full Dune 3 trailers. We were just talking about that, but still haven't gotten even a proper teaser yet for Doomsday. Yes. But again, I want all of us to keep that in perspective. It's still 5.5 months away. I honestly think for a normal, fairly big movie, we're now just entering the rational time to really start your marketing campaign. I really don't see a lot of purpose in putting out trailers like more than 6 months in advance. Now, Dune did it. Great. Now they put out their second one. This is probably roundabout where they should have put out their first one, but I guess maybe they wanted to get out ahead of Doomsday a little bit. Maybe that was part of their thinking, maybe not. But yeah, I think we are now simply just mere weeks away from the full throttle, pedal to the metal, full blitz marketing campaign starting for Avengers Doomsday. And I think they're probably dropping it at Comic-Con, obviously. All right. Thanks for that, Amin. Next up, Mr. I writes, Did you see the Trojan horse popcorn bucket? I did. You know, but I'm going to say this. As the popcorn buckets are getting now more and more elaborate, I kind of feel like the popcorn buckets I'm liking most also have an element of simplicity to them. Like, for example, I don't have it on my, where do I have it? I don't have it on my desk right now, but like Superman had this popcorn bucket where it was an old style newspaper stand box, and the popcorn, like, simple box. There you go. The Deadpool and Wolverine one, obviously really great. The Trojan horse one is pretty elaborate though. It's pretty baller. All right. Thanks for that, Mr. I. Tristan R writes, didn't like Supergirl's writing. I agree. Said so online, got called misogynist incel. First time toxic fandom backlash made me like a movie less. Yeah, look, I haven't gotten any of that. I've said very loudly I thought it was a poorly written script, but I mean, everybody knows I was cheering for the movie, right? I mean, the world knows that I was a believer in the film, that I was cheering for it. I want all the success in the world for it. But, you know, at the end of the day, I have to be honest, and I am. Look, you guys know I say a lot of unpopular things, which is okay. It's often lonely being right. But you guys know I say a lot of unpopular things. And the reason I do is because I have nothing if you guys don't know that when I tell you something, you may agree with it and you may disagree with it. And I might be right and I might be wrong. But you guys have to know beyond a shadow of a doubt, when I say something, it's what I actually think. Like, I always have to be absolutely honest with my opinions, and I always am. Sometimes that gets me in trouble. I accept that because I don't really care. That's the beauty of working for yourself. But, you know, I was a big cheerleader for Supergirl. I believed in the movie. I was cheering it on. But then I walked into the theater and I watched it. And it wasn't very good. And one of the main, if not the main problem with the movie was whether it was a guy that wrote it or a woman that wrote it, it was a bad script. Just was. Now, you might have liked the script, and that's fine. I'm not trying to rain on your parade, but you're asking me, so my opinion was it was just a bad script. Now, because everybody knows I wanted the movie to be good, I've never had a single person say a single thing to me about being a Supergirl hater or whatever. Like, no, it was just, I don't care who wrote it. I mean, I talk about the worst screenwriters out there are men. Not all men. There are a couple of particular guys. You guys know who I'm talking about. But yeah, it is what it is. It disappointed me. And it makes me worried about the Wonder Woman project because it's the same writer. And it makes me worried about a potential Teen Titans project, which they shouldn't be doing right now. But it's concerning. It really is. I just got to be honest about it. All right. Next up, Victor writes, have you watched The Glorious Widow's Bay yet? Yeah, we've talked about it on the show. I'll say this about Widow's Bay, which I think just got like 17 or 18 nominations. Like a lot of below the line nominations, but like a lot of really good ones too. I really like Widow's Bay. And I really did like the finale. I like the finale. I've heard some people complaining about the finale. I thought it fit well with the rest of the show. But admittedly, I feel like after episode 6 or 7, while it still had some awesome moments, I felt like it waned a little bit. Like, still good. I just felt like the show was like going up and up and up and up, and like I was loving it. And then after about the 6th or 7th episode, I felt it, maybe 5th or 6th episode, I felt it just started to peter off a little bit. And it was still good, and I still really liked it. So, yes, I really enjoyed the show a lot. I'm very excited for it to come back and to see a season 2. Hopefully it won't take 2 or 3 years to do it. All right. Next up, Tristan writes, a bit late, but my mid-year top 5, H.M. Turner, number 5, or Turner 5, H.M. Turner, 5, Toy Story 5, 4, so you got 6 of them, 4, Sheep Detectives. 3, They Will Kill You. You know what? They Will Kill You is totally my kind of movie, and I didn't love it. Anyway, number 2, I Love Boosters. Number 1, Masters of the Universe. And I'm glad you love it, man. I'm glad you love it. I did not, but I celebrate that you did. All right, next up. Mark Branson writes, John, thank you so much for your editorial about the Odyssey. Accuracy to me went out the window when the characters weren't speaking Homeric Greek. Yeah, I mean, I'm not going to read. I made an entire editorial video about it. I don't need to go into it all again. But I understand preference. Like, you guys remember when the first Mario Brothers movie was coming out, the first animated one, not the one from like 30 years ago. But when the first Super Mario Brothers animated movie was coming out a couple of years ago, yes, I much would have rather. I love Chris Pratt. He's one of the best guys I've ever met in the business. One of the best, highest quality. I don't know why he gets any hate. He is one of the most wonderful, wonderful people. But I love Chris Pratt. But yeah, like I was like, it's Mario. Why are you getting Chris Pratt, who I adore? Why are you getting Chris Pratt to do the voice when it should be an Italian? It's Mario. Mario. It's a me. Let's go. It's Mario. And as an Italian, I really would have liked to have seen an Italian do the voice of Mario. But it wasn't like, well, if it's not an Italian doing the voice of Mario, I'm not going to watch Mario. Down with Mario, brother. No. I mean, yeah, I would have liked to have seen it. I think they should have gotten somebody, but they didn't. All right. I'll just wait and see if the movie's any good. And you know what? I thought Mario Brothers was good. I thought it was good. I didn't think it was great, but I thought it was good. I had a good time watching Mario Brothers. I really did. But yeah, I like that. Somebody, Dark Smirk says, Stanley Tucci is Mario. The Tooch should have been the voice of Mario. Or anybody. Roberto Baggio. A lot of you guys have no idea who that name is, but some of you might. Get Roberto Baggio in there to do the voice of that. So yeah, it is what it is. But movies are movies. They're make-believe. Actors playing things they're not. Don't get your little pussy panties in a twist with one physical difference from the description and not get same upset about another physical difference from the description. I don't know. Guys, it's movies. It's movies. Let's just enjoy them. And if you watch it and don't like it, you don't like it. We move on. Like I didn't like Supergirl. But it's everybody just brings their political agendas to everything, and it's depressing. To be honest with you, it's depressing. It really is. Anyway, all right. Thank you for that, Mark. Next up, Trollmageddon sends in a $20 super chat. Thank you so much, man. Appreciate the support on that level, dude. It's very generous of you. All right. Trollmageddon writes, when it comes to award shows, do you think projects that happen earlier in the year often get forgotten? It can happen. It can. Like a recency bias. Also, do you think the time Oscar season comes, could they forget Project Hail Mary? No, like, look, it is a human nature thing of out of sight, out of mind, right? That's definitely a human nature thing. But like there was what was the name of the movie with Handsome Hawk, with Ethan Hawke a bunch of years ago, where they literally filmed the movie over the course of like, was it Boyhood, or it wasn't about a boy, it was Boyhood or something like that, where they literally shot the movie over 10 or 15 years. And then actually, guys in the live chat, you guys know which movie I'm talking about. Throw it in the live chat if you guys remember what it is. Anyway, that was a movie that came out very early in the year, and it ended up getting a lot of Oscar attention. It got, yes, Justin in the live chat is saying, yeah, it was Boyhood. That was the name of it. The thing is, and I remember I had this discussion with somebody before, the movies that come out in the later part of the year don't get the lion's share of the Oscar nominations because they came out later in the year. It's that the studios believe that these are the Oscar contending movies and they want to put them as close to Oscar season as possible so they can benefit from the Oscar buzz. It's a purely business decision. So yeah, it's not because, so no, I don't think they're going to forget Project Hail Mary. You're going to see Project Hail Mary get a good number of nominations. People aren't going to forget about it. But again, it's not that the movies that come out later get nominations because they came out later. It's that the studios believe these are the films that we believe will get nominations. Let's release them as close to Oscar season as possible so we can benefit from the positive word of mouth of Oscar buzz. So it's really more along that line. But yeah, again, it's human nature. Out of sight, out of mind is an issue that people have to worry about. All right. Next up, we got a Mike Lovins who writes, "Hey, John, great to meet you in Columbus. Thank you so much for that. I had great time in Columbus. Not a very good projector in the movie theater we did the movie meetup in Columbus, Ohio, but had a great time with everybody there. I've been going down a rabbit hole of watching old Siskel and Ebert episodes. Were they as big in Canada as in the US? Well, I mean, not being American, I don't know for sure how big they were in the US, but as a kid in Canada, I loved, there were two things I loved watching because I've been a movie fan since birth. I loved watching I would watch Entertainment Tonight simply in the hopes that Leonard Maltin would do a segment doing a movie review. I love Leonard Maltin. And then the other was Siskel and Ebert. Like shows about movies. So like they were certainly big. I mean, even in Canada, who are the big movie critics? Well, it's Siskel and Ebert. Now the king of all Canadian movie critics is me. I'm king. Nobody knows who I am. But yeah, man, they were big. They were quite big at the time, everywhere, I guess. All right, thanks for that, Mike. Christopher Diaz writes, "Are you planning on seeing Evil Dead Burn?" Oh, absolutely. I loved the preview at CinemaCon. Like it blew. The preview at CinemaCon I thought was wild, like absolutely wild. Now I hope I get to see it this weekend because I'm going to go see Moana tomorrow. I'm also seeing The Invite tomorrow. And then I've got another screening on Sunday and Saturday is booked. I don't know when I'm going to see it, but I am going to see it because I think it looks bonkers fun, like absolute bonkers fun. Can't wait. Hopefully I'll get to see it on Friday. All right. Trollmageddon sends in another $20 super chat. Thank you, man. So much, dude. And Trollmageddon writes, "My childhood dream was to direct and act in movies. Wonderman," oh, that's nice. "Wonderman literally brought me to tears when he finally achieved his dream. My family discouraged me as well, called it a pipe dream. That show was awesome." Yeah, I get it. You know what, though? Let me talk about this for a second. The whole thing about chasing your dream to be a movie or an actor, I absolutely would never discourage anybody from doing that. But I always tell people, if you're going to chase that, go in with eyes wide open, which means you have to understand that your odds for every one of you that has this dream of becoming an actor or a director, there are 100,000 other people with the same dream. And very few opportunities available to that 100,000. So I'm not saying don't pursue your dream. What I'm saying is when you start pursuing that dream, understand that the odds are against you and you can do everything right. I remember when I first came to the US, I had a friend of mine from back home who had an actress. She was an actress and she had already made the move down to LA. So we were friends in Canada. And before I came down, she had already made the move to LA to really pursue her dream of acting. And I'll tell you what, she was good. She was good. And she did everything right. She was in acting classes 4 days a week. She was like working side hustles and shifts to pay for her rent and pay for acting classes and networking with the casting directors and building relationships and honing her craft. And she was really, really good. And after about 4 years, she had to abandon it. She couldn't afford to live in LA anymore. All the savings ran out and she had to go back home. And look, she managed to find other things to do and has a very fulfilling life. Great. But I just think it's important to understand when you're going to pursue something that big, pursue it. Just make sure it's not just a risk, that it's a calculated risk, and that you put safeguards in place for yourself for the likelihood that it won't work out. Because again, it's like getting struck by lightning. It's so hard to do it, man. So hard to do it. All right. Thanks for that, Troll Mageddon. And I totally agree with you with your sentiments at Wonderman. You can't help but get emotional when you realize he achieved his dream. That's just so cool. All right. Next up, we got My Rhino, who writes, binging A Good Wife and shocked by all the actors who became stars on it. Film and Broadway, Pascal, Good, Strong, Biggs, Lane, Cassis, Hamilton, etc., etc. That was one of the, because that was the lead girl from ER, right? Margulies, is that her name? Who was the head of that show? Anyway, you know what show did that for me? When I first watched The Wire. I never watched The Wire when it was originally airing. I watched it a bunch of years ago for the first time because so many people like who I knew who are major television files were like, The Wire is the greatest television show ever made. So I remember a bunch of years ago, I finally got around to sitting down to watching The Wire. And I'm watching The Wire and I'm like, everybody from Game of Thrones is in The Wire. Like everybody, it felt like everybody from Game of Thrones came from The Wire. Like I remember the first one I kind of recognized, well, that's Littlefinger. Oh my God. So yeah, I've had stuff like that where I've gone back to these shows and realized, oh my God, like they went on to do these huge things. All right. Thanks for that, My Rhino. Josh Molinari writes, odds we see Dune Part 3 open to more than 125 million weekend, even with Doomsday opening as well. I know plenty of people that are doing both opening weekend, even some back to back. 125 is a tall order, man. Especially with Doomsday opening on the same day. Now, if I go and look up Dune 2, Dune Part 2 opened with 82 million. So you're talking about adding another 55% on top of that with Dune, or Doomsday, I should say, with Doomsday opening on the same day. I'm going to say no. Now, look, remember Barbenheimer, right? Oppenheimer came that close to being $1 billion film. It made $900+ million, came that close to being $1 billion film. But it was opening against Barbie, so it had a very, very good opening weekend, but it was like an $82 million opening weekend. Something, fact check me on that if you want, but I believe Oppenheimer's opening weekend box office number was 82 something million dollars. And it went on to make almost $1 billion. It's just that it was tough to make a huge amount of money on that opening weekend. So considering the fact that the last Dune made 80 something million opening weekend, and the fact that Dune 3 is opening against Doomsday, I think Dune is going to have a very good opening weekend. I think it's going to have a great successful box office run, but I don't know if it can make 125 million on opening weekend. Like, honestly, even if it wasn't opening against Doomsday, I don't know that it would make 125 million opening weekend anyway. That's a big number. 125 million is a big number, especially for like an R-rated, like kind of not family friendly. The kiddos aren't rushing out to see Dune sort of thing. Even if it wasn't opening against Doomsday, I don't know that it makes 125 million. So I don't know. Hopefully it'll surprise us though. Hopefully it'll surprise us. All right. Let's see. Next, we've got Aaron, who writes, for me, Only Murders and The Bear did not earn their nominations this year. Great shows, but last seasons were not Emmy worthy. I agree about The Bear. The Bear is a great show. It's not a comedy, so I don't know why it constantly gets nominated under comedy, but it's not a comedy. Regardless, it's a great show. I don't think the last season was its best effort. I agree. I probably liked Only Murders more than you did. So I don't think it's the same thing as The Bear, but I'll at least say that I absolutely agree with you about The Bear. I probably don't think it deserved, it was still good, don't get me wrong, but I don't think it deserved a best comedy series nomination this year, but it got it. All right. Next up. Oh my goodness. Pi. Pi sends in a $50 super chat. My Pi, thank you so much, man. And everybody watching the show, thanks you so much for supporting the show on that level. It's incredibly generous of you, man. Anyway, let's get to what you had to write in. Pi writes, hey, John, I want to clarify from before that I don't want Sophie Thatcher to play Rogue solely because she wants to, but because I think she's a better fit to play Rogue than Odessa Azion, who was rumored to play her, and that's why I said Odessa fits Polaris better. Again, but let me go back, though, Pi, and thank you for writing that in. Let me go back to what I was saying before. It's the whole age-old conundrum about X actor and X role, right? If you look at Joker, you got Jack Joker, you got Heath's Joker, you got Joaquin's Joker, you've got Leto's Joker, you got Caesar's Joker, you got Mark Hamill's Joker. I mean, there's like 7 Jokers right there, right? Nobody disputes that Heath Ledger was an amazing Joker. But would he have been the right guy to cast to play Joaquin's version of Joker? I don't think so. I don't think he would have been a good fit for Joker if it was that Joker. Jack Nicholson, obviously an amazing, iconic, legendary Joker from the original Batman movie, right? But would he have been the right guy to play Heath's version of Joker? I don't think he would have been a good cast for Heath's version of Joker. The point here is that we don't know what kind of Rogue we're going to get, because all those Jokers were all definitely Joker, but they were all unique and different. Each director had a different vision for what they wanted their Joker to be specifically. And because each Joker was different, who would actually be a good fit for the role changes depending on what the director's vision for the role is. So like you can say that like Thatcher's a better choice to play Rogue, but which Rogue? Are you thinking of the X-Men 97 version of Rogue? Are you thinking of the Anna Paquin version of Rogue? Are you thinking of the Age of Apocalypse version of Rogue? So it's hard to say that one particular actor would be the definitive best choice for a role when we have no idea what kind or what version of that character the director's going for, because she might be the worst casting for it, might be the best, don't know. But that's why it's always tricky doing X actor and X role stuff. I engage in it too every once in a while, but it is tricky. Somebody in the live chat is saying, I was thinking more the X-Men Evolution version of Rogue, but that might, I got it. I see what you're going for, but that might not be the version of Rogue that, the director's going for. So it's hard to say. All I'll say is this. That's why for me, when it comes down to, who they cast, I just go with, hey, as long as the director casts a really talented performer, I'll trust the director that they know what they need from an actor to play the version of the character they have in their heads. I'll trust them with that. I just want them to make sure they get somebody who's really talented. So that's why for me, like when you're casting the God of Olympus, Zeus impregnating a human woman and then hatching Helen of Troy out of a giant swan egg, is Lupita Nyong'o the first name that comes to my head? No. But I'll trust Christopher Nolan that he knows what he needs from an actor to play a certain role. All I ask is that when you do cast an actor, it's an exceptionally talented actor, and Lupita Nyong'o is objectively one of the greatest actresses on the planet. So I'm good with it. So that's just kind of how I feel about that stuff. Anyway, man, again, thank you so much for supporting us on that level, man. Really, really appreciate that, dude. Thank you so much. All right. Next up, we've got Spinal B, who writes, "Hey, John, Supergirl got me thinking. I feel that, Pascal aside, the Game of Thrones / House of the Dragon cast can't seem to land any memorable roles in Hollywood afterwards. I kind of feel bad. They're great actors." But that's nothing new, though. That's really nothing new. That, for a very, very long time, that was the standard. Like, if you go back to the 80s, 90s, even the early 2000s, if you were on a big hit TV show, you almost had no chance of having a thriving career afterwards. That's just the way it was. And you would be able to, on both hands, really count actors on TV shows from that era who made it big in that era on a TV show, then being able to go on and establish themselves with a really great, thriving career. Now, that's changed a bit. It's a little bit more common today than it was back then. So obviously you got the guy who played Rob Stark. He's got a great career. Kit Harington's got a great career. Sophie Turner, she's got, a number of movies, and now she's going to be Lara Croft. So she's got, Maisie Williams hasn't really been able to break out and do much. I really like her. I really like Maisie Williams. I hope she gets her break in doing something. Yeah, Will Smith doesn't count though. Profa. Will Smith doesn't count because Will Smith didn't get famous doing TV. He was already famous when he did his TV show. He was already a big famous music star. So I don't count Will Smith because he was already big and famous. He didn't become famous. George Clooney from ER is one of the standard. That's one of the big ones. Him, Michael J. Fox is another one. But there's not many. So today, I mean, when you look at Friends too, I mean, yeah, Lisa Kudrow has been having a resurgence in her career as of late, which great for her. But even that was tough. So it's not unusual, man. It's not terribly unusual, unfortunately. All right. Next up, Cameron Vaughn writes, "Holy Dune, that trailer gave me goosebumps. Dude, that trailer." Actually, I got a text. I'm going to read it. I got a text from Rob this morning. Let me see if I can pull it up here. Where is it? Yeah. Rob sent me a text this morning. This is just after the Dune trailer dropped. He said, "I just jizzed in my pants watching that Dune trailer. I think there was much jizz. Yea, across the kingdom. Much jizz was splooshed watching that Doom trailer. Cannot wait for that movie, man. Cannot wait for that movie. All right. Michael Tomzik writes, "One of Sean's most loyal minions here." Nice. A question for all. What's your favorite quote from Thanos in the MCU? Favorite quote from Thanos. I mean, obviously there's that one in Endgame, run from it. It eventually leads back to me, or like that. That's a good one too. I think for me, it's a simple line, and I don't think this is one, but I think it might be, perfectly balanced as all things should be. He's talking to little baby Gamora. That's a really cool, haunting line. It's a simple little short line that also gives you perfect insight into the whole motivations of the character, right? So, yeah, I think that one might be mine. All right. Let's see. Last question of the day. You guys remember I turned off Super Chats a while ago. Animesh writes, "There hasn't been a single week this year where I wasn't interested and very impressed by a new release, be it movies or series. Good times." This has been a really good year. We've had some great television, like really top-notch television. We've had a couple of really, really good movies. Not as many as I was hoping for, but we've had a couple of really good ones. But like Jonathan was saying earlier, we have an embarrassment of riches for the second half of the year, man. An embarrassment of riches. So we got so much good stuff coming, and starting with Odyssey. I'm really excited about it. And all right, guys, that'll do it for today's installment of the John Campea Show. Thank you so much for being here and making our little show a part of your day. Big special thank you to the thousands of you guys in the live chat. Thanks for being here. And a special thank you to all you guys who sent in those super chats. Guys like Pi and the others who sent in like $20 super chats, and all the rest of you, even the $2 ones. Number one, thank you so much for just giving us good, fun things to talk about. But number two, thank you so much for supporting the channel and all of us involved with the show. Thank you guys so very much for your support. All right, guys, that'll do it for me. Thanks a lot for being here. My name is John Campea, and until next time, my friends, bye-bye.